Imagine discovering a set of principles so counterintuitive that they seem like riddles. Yet, when you truly understand them, they unlock a power that makes every challenge in your life suddenly manageable. A Chinese sage wrote these paradoxes 2,500 years ago, and they're so radical that most people dismiss them as mystical nonsense. But what if I told you that modern neuroscience is now proving these ancient paradoxes correct? That understanding them could completely transform how you handle stress, conflict, and uncertainty. But first, let me tell you why this ancient Eastern wisdom matters more today than ever. Picture ancient China around 600 BCE. The world is brutal and chaotic. Warring kingdoms tear the land apart. Violence and power rule everything. Into this darkness steps a man who would become known as Lao Tzu, literally Old Master. But here's what's fascinating about Lao Tzu. He wasn't a warrior, a politician, or even a traditional teacher. Legend says he was a keeper of the imperial archives, a quiet observer who watched because Lao Tzu discovered 5 paradoxes that reveal why this approach fails and what actually works instead. Let's start with the paradox that changes everything about how you approach obstacles. Lao Tzu wrote, "Nothing in the world is softer than water, yet nothing is better at overcoming the hard and strong. This is because nothing can substitute for it." Think about that for a moment. Water, the softest, most yielding substance, ultimately defeats granite, diamonds, mountains. It doesn't fight the rock. It doesn't declare war on the obstacle. It simply finds the path of least resistance and flows. But here's what most people miss about this ancient wisdom. This isn't passive submission. This is strategic intelligence. Water is relentless, consistent, and patient. It never stops, but it never wastes energy fighting what it cannot change. Now translate this to your life. When you hit resistance, whether it's a difficult person, a stubborn problem, or a seemingly impossible goal, your instinct is probably to push harder, apply more force, get more aggressive. Lao Tzu would tell you this is exactly backwards. The master understands that true power flows around obstacles, not through them. This principle appears because the second paradox completely destroys our modern obsession with accumulation. Lao Tzu wrote, "In pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In pursuit of wisdom, every day something is dropped." This hits at the core of everything wrong with modern self-improvement culture. We're addicted to addition, more productivity hacks, more strategies, more techniques, more information. We think wisdom comes from accumulating more and more knowledge, but ancient Eastern wisdom points to the opposite truth. Real transformation happens through subtraction, not addition. Through elimination, not accumulation. Think about it this way. When Michelangelo carved David, he didn't add anything to the marble. He removed everything that wasn't David. The masterpiece was already there, hidden under layers of excess stone. Your best self works the same way. It's not buried under a lack of strategies or techniques. It's buried under too many of them. Under the accumulated layers of complexity, distraction. But the more I added, the more anxious I became. Until I remembered this ancient wisdom. What if the problem wasn't that I needed more solutions, but that I needed fewer problems. If this is resonating with you, you're going to love where this goes next. This is where it gets really interesting, because the third paradox reveals the secret that ties everything together. Here's the paradox that changes everything about how you think about strength and leadership. The sage is guided by what he feels and not by what he sees. Most people operate entirely through external signals. They chase what looks impressive, what appears successful, what seems like the obvious path forward. They're guided by what they see, the surface level reality. But Lao Tzu understood something profound about the nature of reality. What you see is almost always a distraction from what actually matters. The real power, the real opportunities, the real solutions. This connects to every authentic spiritual tradition, from Buddhism to Stoicism to ancient philosophy. The masters don't just talk about principles, they become the principles. And this brings us to the final paradox, the one that integrates all the others. The Tao gives life to all things, and death to all things. Here's the revelation that ties everything together. Life isn't about avoiding death, failure, or endings. It's about understanding that creation and destruction are part of the same eternal process. Every setback contains the seed of your next breakthrough. Every ending enables a new beginning. Every moment of letting go creates space for something better to emerge. This is why water defeats stone. It accepts change and flows with it. This is why wisdom requires subtraction. You must let old patterns die for new ones to emerge. This is why the sage trusts feeling over seeing. They're connected to the deeper rhythm of existence itself. If this is hitting you as deeply as it should, then you're ready for what comes next. So, here's your challenge, and it's going to go against every instinct you have. For the next 7 days, I want you to practice one of these paradoxes. When you hit this ancient Eastern wisdom isn't just philosophy, it's a technology for living. A way of moving through the world that works with reality instead of against it. A path that leads to what the ancients called Wu Wei. Effortless action that achieves maximum results with minimum force. But here's the thing about ancient wisdom. It only works if you work it. These aren't concepts to understand intellectually. They're practices to embody completely. And if you want to dive deeper into this kind of transformational ancient wisdom, the kind that actually changes how you move through the world, then you need to subscribe to this channel. Because we're just getting started. Next week, we're exploring how Stoic philosophy and Eastern wisdom intersect in ways that will completely reframe how you think about modern Stoicism and self-improvement. Remember, the sage does not attempt anything very big and thus achieves greatness. Start small. Flow like water.